All right, divine friends, it is Saturday, so naturally we will be reading Anubis, Ancient Egypt's Lord of Death and Protection by Charlie Lawson. Again, you guys know I love this book by now. Now, we are in chapter 3 and we are going to be looking at death rituals in ancient Egypt is where we will be starting today. Death rituals in ancient Egypt. We tend to associate Egypt strongly with death. This may have to do with what we can immediately see. The ancient remains of everyday buildings like homes have long since returned to the earth, and the ruins that we do still have are those of important buildings like temples and tombs that were built out of durable, long lasting materials like stone. In fact, most of the structures that have survived from ancient Egypt are places that were associated with death. And from what they tell us, death was clearly a very important part of life and culture. In the Old Kingdom, from roughly 2700 BCE to roughly 2200 BCE, only the kings, pharaohs, were granted passage to the afterlife, and it required riches and wealth to be granted that passage. Kings were seen as extensions of the divine, and they were granted special privileges in both this life and the afterlife. Servants of kings and those who embalmed them upon death might earn passage to the afterlife through merit, but most others could not. By the Middle Kingdom, however, everyone had a chance at the afterlife, provided they lived their lives in a well intentioned way as possible. Ancient Egyptians mummified their dead in order to preserve their remains, so that after death the soul could return to the body and ruminate it. This is why the dead were buried with shrouds and death masks, to make it easier for the soul to find their bodies again. They defined the soul as having three equally important parts: the Ka, the Ba, and the Ak. The Ka was the part of the spirit that looked like a person. It was, in a sense, made in a person's image. It was the part of the soul that needed sustenance in the afterlife, just as in life. The Ba was the part of the soul that represented who a person was on the inside, their likes and dislikes, their personality, their desire, and their important characteristics. The Ak was the union of the two, the complete person who lived in the afterlife that comprised of all of who they had been in this life. We'll talk more about these beliefs and rituals in chapter 4. Suffice it to say here that these death rituals were seen as a means by which to ensure that those lucky enough to undergo them enjoyed a happy, peaceful, and prosperous afterlives. In ancient Egypt, Anubis was the original god of death, long before Osiris' death and his ascension to the role of god of the underworld. Even long after, however, Anubis was present throughout Egyptian culture as a reminder of the significance of death and as a protector. He played a role throughout the entire process of death. Many prayed to him on their deathbeds. He participated in the embalming process, overseeing the difficult work that the embalmers, priests, and funerary workers performed. Followers of the ancient traditions prayed to him for guidance and protection throughout their lives. And as they transitioned into the afterlife, he was he was just as much a guardian of the living as of the dead. Images and statues of Anubis were placed into the tombs of kings and pharaohs, and even those of common folk for protection and guidance. He guided souls of the deceased through the underworld, known as the Duat, to the Hall of Judgment, where he oversaw the weighing of the heart ceremony to determine the deceased's fate. From there, he guided them to the field of reeds, where he protected them and guarded them. He helped the living commune with the dead and helped lost souls find their way. His role in death was broad and expansive. All right, now We will be moving further through chapter 3 next Saturday. And if you guys want to go ahead and talk about Anubis in the comments, go ahead and drop those statements. I would love to discuss the great Anubis with you guys. So, and if not, other than that, I'll see you guys next week.